If you're active on social media platforms, at times you struggle to create content. Our next guest is going to help you with that. Bloopers are always a fun part of recording a podcast. Here's one for you.
Hello, hello. Oh, I can't quite hear you. Let me see.
Me.
There we go. Now I hear you.
Yep, that was me.
It's always something with this, right? There's so many cords and plugs.
I know it. The host is supposed to remember to turn on his microphone, though. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ops Mastermind podcast. Today, we are excited to have with us Melanie Dietzel, who has founded StoryFuel, and she is helping marketers and creators with their content. Melanie, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Absolutely. It's all about content these days, right?
That's right. Yeah.
More important than ever, and with 100 million platforms to try and create content for and put it out there.
That's right.
What do you find is the biggest stumbling block that people have to creating content?
I mean, I think there's a couple, actually. One that's really common is people who just feel totally off-put and overwhelmed by it. And I think that's really common because in so many cases, we got into the industry that we work in because we love the work, not because we love marketing the work. And so suddenly having to be, a video producer or a podcast producer, a blogger, it feels outside of our wheelhouse. So that's one of the big ones, is where it's like, this is just not my thing. I don't know how I'm supposed to be doing all this. And the other one is almost on the complete opposite side, is folks who feel like they have to produce content for content's sake. Like, I just have to post something on Instagram. I've got to update our Facebook page. And so you wind up like creating things you don't love, that you're not proud of. It's sort of just checking the box. I think those are kind of the two biggest ones. Either you're totally afraid to jump in, or you just feel like you're caught on the hamster wheel with it.
Yeah, I would say I get myself caught on the pressure, I guess I'll call it, of having to create content. And I kind of did it to myself this morning. I looked and I'm like, wow, I haven't actually put a post up on LinkedIn that I wrote in 2 days, a whole 2 days. Right. But I was like, I got to actually write a post. I've put up a couple of videos that were created as, segments out of the podcast and stuff. And I sat down to write it at my computer, and I was like, there was so much pressure of having to put one up that I couldn't come up with something to write on. So with 30 plus years in the automotive industry, a couple of sentences shouldn't be that hard, but you end up putting yourself under undue pressure trying to create content.
That's another thing that comes up too. You mentioned 30 years in the business. I mean, for a lot of us, we've been at this a long time, and finding new, unique, exciting things to say when maybe your product set or your services haven't changed is sometimes the challenge too. Like, how do I make this interesting? How do I keep it fresh? I don't want to say the same thing as much as I'm sure my audience doesn't want to read or hear the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly, as I sit down to try and write, I try to remember things that I've talked about. And sometimes you fall into that. You've been in the business so long, and you start to think about something, and it's like, well, that's common sense. Why would I even write about that? But it may not be common. Yeah, but it may not be common sense for someone else, right?
That's right. Well, and it's funny because I think this is hopefully an appropriate analogy I use with clients in other industries too. As I say, it's really easy to feel like you don't have anything of value to add, or that the things are not extraordinary. But in life, when we're not in a particular field, we're not necessarily looking for the best mechanic in the world, or the best plumber in the world, or the best anything else in the world. We just need somebody who knows a little bit more than we do to help us out. And so we have to remember that for our audience, we are that, right? We know just a little bit more than they do, and in most cases, a lot more than they do about an area. And so when we're sharing things that seem obvious to us, I mean, they may never even have thought of it before.
Right. Exactly. And that is something to keep in mind as you're out there trying to share what you know. And I mean, I have a mastermind group that we meet on Tuesday nights, and that's one of the things that we always say is, whether you've been in the business 4 years or 40 years, somebody has something to share with somebody. So just get out there and create something.
Absolutely. And the other thing that's important to remember is, we think about everything we've ever created, everything we've ever shared. And you're thinking, okay, well, 6 years ago in June, I definitely wrote about this topic before. Like, your audience may not, one, have seen that. Maybe they're new to your audience since the last time you addressed it. And two, they probably don't remember it. And three, even if they see it again, they're either not going to click it because they know, and that's fine, or they're going to click on it and say, oh yeah, this is actually useful. I learned about this, but I never put it into practice, or I never followed up on it. So there's really no harm in addressing things another time, as long as you're not, sharing the same post every Monday. I don't think you're going to run into an issue with talking about topics, more than once.
Yeah. Don't continually plagiarize yourself.
Yeah.
So you have a book that is all around content creation, right? The Content Fuel framework, how to generate unlimited story ideas.
That's the one. Yeah.
Tell us. Well, I guess take us on a little journey.
Sure.
How did you come to write this book, and what's its purpose?
Yeah. So the book was really born out of figuring out what is it that I'm doing in my own head when I'm coming up with content ideas. Because what I found is when I was, working with clients or talking to a small business owner, and they'd say, well, I'm not sure what kind of content I can create about this product or this event or this promotion. And I would just, oh, okay, what if we do this? And oh, what if we do this? And I would just be able to kind of shoot ideas off the hip. And people would ask, well, how do you do that? How can I do that? And I couldn't answer that question. And it bothered me so much. So I did a lot of digging into my own brain to figure out what's the process that I'm going through that allows me to come up with these ideas quickly. And how can I share that with other people so that they can sort of have this superpower themselves, at least, when they need it. And so that's really what the book is designed to do. It's not a long book. It's not a complicated book. It's just a book that's walking you through the process you can use to come up with these content ideas that are going to reach your audience, share your brand values, talk to your audience about what's important to you, but also create stuff that's new and fresh and interesting for them. And it really just comes down to, I have a simple formula, which is that every piece of content is made up of two parts. It has a focus. So it's about something, it's told from a certain perspective, like maybe through this lens of history, through the lens of people or data. And then every piece of content has a format. We bring it to life in some way. Like we're here on video, or if you're listening to us, you're hearing us through audio. Maybe it's a quiz or a map. So if you can answer those two questions, okay, which of these focuses might be a good option? And then which of these formats is a good way to bring it to life? That's much easier than just sort of hoping something comes to you when you're staring at that blank Word document.
Yeah, certainly in my fixed operations world, which is service and parts departments, processes play a large role, and you need to just be able to transfer that over. You started this conversation out saying that a lot of us are in the business that we are in because we like what we were doing, but now all of a sudden you get tossed the marketing role and things. And for people who are service managers and service directors, that happens a lot. Like that's their job, is now to drive the customer into the store so that others can do the work and sell work on those vehicles. And myself included, I haven't had any marketing training. And now people are asking you to market stuff, and it's grown because now you have YouTube channels that the stores want. You have Facebook pages that they want updated and things, and that starts to create a whole new world. And these guys and gals that are running these stores have no marketing experience. So what would you suggest that they do to start to be able to start to put together content? Because it doesn't have to be complicated, crazy content that anybody needs to put together to make it engaging.
So the first thing I would say, especially if you're starting out with this, you've just had this handed to you, this responsibility, and or you've been doing it a while and you're feeling kind of burnt out on it, which is a common thing. I would say it's important to take a step back and think really critically about what you can do of quality consistently. It is so much more important that you do it consistently than that you do it frequently. And I think that's kind of a mistake we make, especially if we don't have a background in marketing. We think, I got to post every day on 20 different places. And that's not necessarily going to get you the results. So it's often a much, much better strategy to choose 1 or 2 or 3 places where you have most of your effort. This is sort of our home base, and all these other places act like a window or a door into that main place. So I'd figure that out first and start there. You know, if it is, we're going to dedicate to our company blog or a YouTube channel or Twitter, you know, Facebook, whatever makes sense for you. Figure out where you're going to put the most of your efforts, and then figure out sort of a minimum viable plan for those other places so you could focus your attention on what matters. I think that's really the first thing you want to do.
Yeah, and I like what you said at the end there, having a minimum viable plan for what you're going to do on other formats, and to make a decision on what your major one is, and start to focus on that, and get good at doing that and consistently doing that. That's the big word, right? Is consistency.
Exactly. Well, I like to make a lot of analogies, as you've probably gathered so far, and certainly we'll hear as we continue to chat. But I liken it to when you're deciding to work out or to get into physical fitness. If you do a different machine every day for 10 minutes, or you go to the gym and you just do 5 minutes on every machine, it's going to take you a long time to have any progress, because you're just sort of being mediocre in many places. Whereas if you go every time and you run on the treadmill, you're going to get better and better and faster at running. And you might supplement it with little weights here and there. You might supplement it doing crunches or whatever else, but you really got to focus most of your efforts on one particular type of exercise or one particular part of your body, perhaps, to really start to see changes. And so we want to kind of apply that same mentality to, you know, the health of our content, so to speak.
Yeah, you do use a lot of analogies, but analogies help people to really grasp a concept that sometimes might be a little bit out of their reach, right? And the gym analogy is perfect, and it kind of really describes what a lot of people do with their content, right? They're dabbling a little bit here on Facebook, and a little bit on LinkedIn, a little bit on Instagram, and maybe they throw one video up on YouTube and wonder why they only have 6 views in 6.5 years, and as opposed to if they had just focused and doubled down and said, okay, I'm going to build a YouTube channel for my store, and we're gonna get good at putting up YouTube videos, and then worry about something else afterwards.
Exactly. Well, and coming back to the gym, right? Once you've mastered a certain, maybe you've gotten your arms or your chest or your legs in a place where you don't have to work as hard on that. It becomes more second nature, and you could shift your attention to whatever comes next. Now I want to work on stamina. Now I want to work on, you know, getting more reps in, whatever the case may be. Once you get that YouTube channel rocking and it's easy, it's part of your process, it's not as stressful anymore. Well, now you've freed up some time, and you could start killing it on Instagram, or start spending a lot of time on Facebook building your community. So definitely starting in one place consistently and then build from there is probably my best sort of catch-all recommendation.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea for most people, is just pick a channel and focus there. To get laser focused on that one channel, and work on that and develop that, and don't try to be all things to all people. It gets way too difficult. I'm sure it's difficult even for someone like you, who that's your job, is creating content. If you had to try and just create content all the time for every different medium, it gets confusing.
Yeah, well, and I always tell everybody, please do as I say and not as I do. Only because I spend all my time helping clients with their content. So admittedly, and I'm the first to admit it, if you look at my YouTube channel, I haven't uploaded anything in over a year, because that's not where I spend the majority of my attention. If you look at Instagram, I upload inconsistently, but you know, every week, every other week, it's not my primary focus. Whereas if you look on Twitter, I'm there every day. I'm posting content. I'm engaging with others. That's where I have my biggest following, and it's where I get my biggest engagement. So it's a conscious choice for me to spend most of my attention there and really make that my strength. So it's totally okay. If I can somehow parade around and be the content person, and I haven't updated my YouTube in a year, you can certainly choose your focus and pick 1 or 2 places to put most of your attention and really start to see better results.
Yeah, and that's what everybody is after in the end. And sometimes I'm sure you've seen where people start to focus, and they start down that road of putting up YouTube videos consistently for a month, and then they get bored with it, and they don't see the results.
Right.
And content is a long game.
100%. Right? Yeah. Coming back to the gym, that's like, well, I went through a whole week and I don't have a 6-pack yet, so I guess I give up. It definitely takes a little bit longer to build that over time. And the other thing I think that's really important is many times when we're creating content or getting into a new channel or building a new type of content, we don't necessarily set really measurable or realistic goals. We just say, I'm going to do YouTube, right? And what does that mean? What are your goals? For how long are you going to do this? It's much better for you to get as specific as possible. So to say, I'm going to post one video every Friday for the next 6 months. And if I see greater than X% of growth, I'll continue doing that, right? So really set yourself a specific time-bound, measurable goal that does give you 3 to 6 months to start to see that growth and that progress. And you're going to have a much easier time deciding, is this worth the effort that I'm putting in, or should I pivot? Should I try something else and see if we get stronger results there?
Right. Great advice. You do need to commit to what you are deciding to be consistent about. I know with the podcast, when I've had this podcast, it was under a different name before, but I've had it for probably 3 years now, and I didn't really get consistent until April or May or so in this year. And it's amazing when you get consistent and you say, okay, every Monday I'm putting out an episode, no matter what, there's an episode going out Monday. And if I can have more than that, great. But every Monday there's going to be an episode. It's amazing the difference that that snowball effect that you start to get of people who are now expecting to see your content on Monday.
And here I go. I'm going to do it again. But think of your favorite show that you watch on television. If episodes just came out random days, random times, sometimes there was 3 weeks between an episode, sometimes it was the next week, it would be very difficult for you to get engaged. It would be very difficult for you to recommend it to other people and say, yeah, you got to watch it. I don't know when it comes out. Just kind of keep an ear out, So when we want to try to embody that same consistency, because it, like you said, it gives people a reason to come back. We become part of their routines. They tune in, they look forward to it. And it builds a habit of engaging with your content, of watching your videos, listening to your show. So that's why I say that consistency is way more important than frequency. And if you have any doubts about that, think of something like Game of Thrones, right? They work on that for a year plus before that season comes out. And it's worth the wait because you know that they've put the quality in there. It's so much better than them putting out, 5-minute horrible episodes every single week for a year, right?
Right, exactly. So one of the things you touched on was the do as you say and not as you do. And certainly from I can remember my mother used the old adage of the cobbler's kid has no shoes.
I say it all the
time. We're all kind of guilty of that. So to try and start to get into the habit of consistency on a particular platform, what are there certain, if somebody said, I want to go all in on LinkedIn, are there different strategies that they would need for each platform, or is it basically just make sure you put something out? The consistency always plays a part in it, but are there different things for different platforms that are important?
For sure. I think there's, certain tactics and strategies that work well in all these different places, but there are some sort of key pieces of advice and best practices you can use across all of them. So the first one I would say is it's really smart for you to have sort of a bank of content that's in the background. And by that, I mean, have some evergreen content you could post any day, anytime. It's not tied to a season or a news event that you have in your back pocket, because that's going to be what comes in handy for you when consistency becomes tough. When you get sick or you take a vacation or your computer crashes, you've got something that's already ready to go that can fill any spot that would otherwise be challenging for you to keep up your consistency. So build that bank of depending on your frequency. If you post every day, you probably want at least a week worth of regular content to be able to share. If you only post a video once a week, then maybe having 1 or 2 videos ready to go is plenty. So building up that base of background content that you have in an emergency is a really good place to start. Because that's going to help you cross that first gap. Because this, once you miss one, it becomes a lot easier to stop being consistent. So you want to have that backup plan. The other thing I really recommend people do is batch your content. So what I mean by that is Many times we're very reactive. It's like we open up Twitter or open up LinkedIn and you're like, okay, what should I post right now? And you're trusting that in that very second, you're going to come up with the perfect thing. Whereas if you put time on your calendar every Monday and say, I'm going to spend an hour, I'm going to write out all my posts for the week. I'm going to find the photo or the link I want to share with it and have it ready to go. You could schedule it in advance with some of the platforms that we're talking about, or you just have that time and I'm ready to go. 9 a.m. I've got something ready to go. So batching that content creation is really helpful. And the other thing I always advise people to do, no matter what your platform, no matter where you're creating content, think about recurring series that you can do. So by that, I mean, whether it's Fan Mail Friday or, I don't know, Toyota Tuesdays. I don't know exactly what would work right for each of your listeners here, but the idea being you already have in your head, whether you call it that publicly or not, you already know in your head, it's Tuesday and therefore I need a Toyota based topic, or it's Friday and therefore I'm answering customer questions. So that allows it to flow much easier, the inspiration to come to you better because you have some guidance. And again, it gives your audience something to tune in that they say, whoa, I don't want to miss this week's Toyota Tuesday. I've got to check it out. I don't want to miss. So having those recurring series, again, internal for you, like you always post advice on a certain day or you do tutorials on another day. Just kind of having that in your head to somewhat of a schedule of recurring series allows you to come up with ideas much more quickly.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the questions I was thinking about asking you why you were saying that was, is there something that you can use to try and help pluck those ideas out of your head to help you have that content? Because obviously it's helpful to say, I'm going to sit down Monday at 9 a.m. and I'm going to write my 7 pieces of content for this coming week. And then you sit down and you get that block or your mind just wants to wander somewhere else. And what are the things that you kind of use to trigger that creative brain to get going?
So one would be those recurring series that we talked about. I call them franchises, where it's like, if you go to a McDonald's or a Dunkin' Donuts somewhere, like they're all going to be vaguely the same, but they're unique. You want kind of that same feeling for yourself. So instead of sitting down and saying, I need 7 ideas for this week, you say, okay, I need 1 tip for Tuesday. I need 1 employee spotlight for Wednesday. It becomes much more manageable because you already have some guidelines around it. So having a couple of those series you can do will definitely help. The other thing is, this is actually what the book is about, is giving you that process and that system for coming up with ideas. So in the book, I offer 10 different focuses or lenses through which you can tell a story. Things like data, opinion, people, basics. We talked about building that base of content that you have in the background. So running through that checklist is often a really good way to spark some new ideas.
Yeah, I love the idea of having the franchises, if you will, set up.
Yeah.
So that certainly can help to trigger what you need to speak about. If you're not just trying to come up with ideas out of the vast universe, you've now narrowed it down to Windshield Wednesdays, and I just need to give somebody a tip about a windshield. So
there you go. I love it. Windshield
I'm
Wednesdays.
figuring this out.
Tender Fridays. Here we go. Let's go.
Transmission Tuesdays.
There you go. Love it.
Yeah, that is awesome. So where can people find your book and find you?
Yeah, so my book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Depending on when you're listening to this, the audiobook may be available too. It's in review, so any day now. And we also, you can learn more about the book and about, all these different things on our website, which is storyfuel.co. So storyfuel.co. There's also workbooks, there's free printables. So depending on what kind of learner you are, if you're more visual, you prefer to look instead of read or listen, you'll find something there that can help you use this checklist and come up with all kinds of awesome ideas.
Awesome. And make sure that we get all that linked up into the show notes so people can find you. And I will be ordering my copy when I get off of here because my content needs some help. So we're going to start working on that. Melanie, thank you very, very much for being with us today. It was a great conversation. I know this is going to help a lot of people start to organize down how they create their content. And we will make sure that we get everything linked in the show notes to drive them back to you so that you can provide them even more help.
Sounds good. And I'd love to have all of you tag me in your Windshield Wednesdays and your Transmission Tuesdays. Let me know that you're out there creating these franchises and finding ways to make content easier for yourself. And thanks, Dave. Thanks for letting me come and share with your audience and share my story.
Awesome. It was great to have you. And you have a terrific rest of your Windshield Wednesday. It is Wednesday.
It is.
All right. I got to go write a post about windshields.
There you go.
Melody, thank you very much for joining us. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care.